All right, then, here I am. I said I'd come back, and I'm back to tell another installment of that amazing story that happened to me, or let's say the story that I chose so that I could be shaped into who I am today. So remember back the first installment. Here I am with Timothy Leary. We've known each other for about 6 weeks, and I know practically nothing about who he is, except that he's attractive, he has very good acid, and he's living in Switzerland. So he says to me, let's go to Afghanistan, making a long story short. He says that he knows some people in Afghanistan, that they will give him money so that we can continue on to Ceylon and live on the beach together, 2 poets on the beach. So, I was ready for adventure, and I decided to go with him. We went to the airport, and one thing that I knew, we went to the airport in Austria. We had come by car from Switzerland to Austria, and one thing that I knew is that he was a fugitive from prison in the United States. But he had his own passport, and I thought, everything is fine. I'm traveling with my lover, and this is going to be fun. I just want to make a little interlude here, which is, I have to choose to tell this story with a sense of humor. Because in actual fact, this story, what is it? It's compost for my life and who I am today. And so there has to be humor in compost. I'm sure that you understand that. This is a very important political story, I believe, in the history of the United States. This man was jailed for 0.1 grams of marijuana. He was jailed for 3.5 years in solitary confinement. And I know and I believe that this is a very serious story. But I have to tell it from my point of view and the point of view from which I evolved into understanding the story. And if you tune into the next installments, you will see how my political understanding of this story came about through the years after all of this happened. So here we are. We drive to the airport in Austria, and we get on the flight to Kabul, Afghanistan. We're talking about January 1973. On the way to Afghanistan, we changed planes in Beirut. I thought this whole thing about Timothy Leary being a fugitive from prison, I thought it was a joke. So we went to a hotel, and I said to him, he had this gray silver hair, and I said to him, you should really dye your hair black so that they don't recognize you. I mean, how could I imagine? I'd never been in that kind of situation. I'd never even imagined that kind of situation. I was European. I didn't know anything about the politics and the underground in the United States and the people who had been fighting the establishment. I didn't know anything about that. So I figured, I'd seen some movies, and I figured, well, we shall dye Timothy Leary's hair so that he's not recognized. I mean, that was so quirky. So I went and I bought hair dye, and I put him in the bath, and I put this black hair dye on his hair. And in the middle of the hair dyeing session, we decided that we really wanted to make love. So we went into the bedroom, and we made love with the hair dye on his hair. And when we were finished, I took him back in the bathroom, and I rinsed his hair, and you can imagine what a mess the bed was. I rinsed his hair, and his hair was purple. Well, I thought that was a brilliant idea. I mean, here's the mad professor, and his hair is purple, and we were in a purple haze. So the next morning, Timothy Leary with his purple hair and Joanna Harcourt-Smith, not understanding anything that was going on, we got on the plane from Beirut to Kabul. When we got to Kabul, I saw these beautiful snowy mountains, and I thought, well, we're going to have fun. I mean, fun is the most important thing in life, or I think so. And so we got off the plane and we walked into the terminal in Kabul, Afghanistan, and this little man with a mustache approached us. Timothy Leary had both our passports in his hand. And he approached us and he said, "I'm James Sinclair from the American Embassy." And he snatched both my passport and Timothy Leary's passport out of his hand. I saw Timothy Leary become pale, and I saw him I saw panic on his face. But, I didn't really understand what was going on. I just said, why did this man steal our passports? And Timothy Leary turns to me and he says, "I am being returned to the United States." Again, I had no understanding of the absolute gravity of that statement. At that point, an Afghani policeman approaches us and says, "Come with me." And Timothy says, "Why?" And he says, "Because you cannot enter Afghanistan because you have no passports." And so I tried to protest and say, "But of course we had passports. We had passports 2 minutes ago." And the Afghani says, "No, we are now going to take you to an Afghani prison. Tune in for more next week."